On this quick video, we'll cover Shipa's integration with Portworx. This can be easily done when you need persistent volumes for your persistent applications. Before we get into it, let's start by seeing what we have here in front of us. This is the Shipa instance I have access to. When we go to clusters, my DevOps or platform engineering team already connected different Kubernetes clusters to my Shipa instance or to the Shipa instance I have access to. We can see ones coming from OKE or Oracle Kubernetes, Azure Kubernetes, and multiple ones from GKE. We're going to be using the PX GKE for this demo, which is our Portworx GKE. When we go to our pools, we can also see the same pools or different pools for each cluster provider, and one pool for our PX GKE. So my cluster and my pools are already configured. And when I go into my applications, I can see one application already called PX app. So that's the application that we're going to be attaching or binding our volume to, so the application can consume it. As you can see, this application has been deployed on the PX GKE demo. The PX GKE demo is our Portworx demo cluster deployed on GKE, as you can see. And we're going to be leveraging this one today for our example. Let's go back to our CLI. The first step we're going to do is use Shipa volume plan list, so we can see our existing volume plans available. We can see both here already created for Longhorn as well as StorageOS, but none for Portworx. So we're going to be doing it now. This can be done through the Shipa volume plan create command, and you're going to see that the only thing you need is the name, so we can call it PX, and the storage class. And if we look back on GKE, the storage class for our cluster PX demo that we're going to be using is Portworx SC. You can just point it here. If you need more information about Shipa's volume integration architecture and how Shipa leverages different storage providers in order to dynamically create and attach volumes to your persistent applications, feel free to check our other videos where we go into details, as well as our documentation with more information about it. But great, now that the storage volume plan is created in here and we can see PX, now we can create our volume. To create a volume, you can do it through the Shipa volume create command. The volume create is going to require a name, so we can call it PX vol1. It's going to require the plan name, so the plan is exactly the one we just created, PX in this case. The pool where this volume was going to be available on, so it's called PX GKE, which is this pool here that we're leveraging when deploying our app, or where our apps are actually located. The team that's going to be the owner for this volume, or it's going to have access for this volume, we can use the team admin. And then we can enter other items such as the access mode, which I'm using read write once, and the capacity. When we click on it, we see that the volume has already been created. And if we do Shipa volume list, great, we can see the volume is already here, but there are no binds. So basically that means that the volume is already available, it's created and it's available at the pool level, but it's not bound to any application. As mentioned before, we're going to be binding this volume to our PX app application. So in order for us to do it, we can say Shipa volume list. So we can see the volume name. And in order to bind the volume, we use Shipa volume bind command, which is going to require the volume name, in this case PX vol1, and it's going to require the mount point. We can mount on PX1, for example. And then the app name, it's basically the app that we have already deployed on Shipa, which is our PX app. Great, that's it. We can see that it's already binding, creating the volume and binding to your app. If we go into our GKE console and we check on clusters, and then our PX demo cluster, we can see our volume is already here and bound. If we go into details, you can see the events that happen as well as the YAML for this volume, but that is already created automatically by Shipa. So me as a developer, if I have access to create the volumes on Shipa, if I have the permissions to, I can create the volume, I can bind to my application without learning anything about PVs, PVCs, and other Kubernetes methodologies and objects. So in this case, it makes it a lot faster for me as a developer to consume Portworx and make it a lot more dynamic for my applications to consume it. And I can, if we shell into the app, PX app, we can see our folder here already for the storage that has been attached. Let's say now me as a developer, I don't need it anymore. I can just do a Shipa volume-unbind, for example, which is gonna ask for the name, the mount point where, which is the mount px1, and then the name, which is px app. Great, the volume is unbound. If we do Shipa volume list, now we see the volume is available. There are no binds to this volume. If we don't need the volume anymore, we can do Shipa volume, delete, and then pass in the volume name. Volume already deleted. If we go into storage and cluster, we see that our PX demo cluster is no longer here anymore. So Shipa also takes care of cleaning up your volumes or cleaning up your objects. So developers can focus primarily on submitting code or pushing code for their applications and managing their applications rather than managing Kubernetes. Hope this was helpful to understand Shipa's integration into Portworx when you require persistent application and persistent volumes. Thank you.